As an American who has moved to the UK, how does the heat compare? It is because... Okay, here's the thing. So I know everyone's talking about it. They're like... Now that all the Americans are here, they're talking about how hot it is here, and they're like... And the British people are like, yeah, we've been saying that. The thing is that climate change is real. Shock face. And, so British buildings are built for old British climate, which is that old British climate, old British climate was cooler, especially during winter. And I don't know if winter has become colder here too. I think so. So houses are built to retain heat so that in the winter, you don't have to use the heating as much because the houses keep the warm in. But the problem with that is now that temperatures across the globe are heating up, especially during the summer, it's hotter in the summer. And so these houses and flats and buildings and all of that are built to keep the heat in temperatures that they used to have, it wasn't as bad because the summer wasn't as hot. And now that the summer is exceptionally more hot, the buildings are keeping that hot heat in, and they do not have air conditioning in pretty much almost all buildings. And like, even a lot of grocery stores and like shopping places may not have air conditioning. So like in America, if you're out walking around and you're not at home in your home air conditioning, you could like walk into a grocery store or a convenience store or something and get cooled down by the air conditioning there. But that's not always a thing here, so it's like there's no respite from the heat. And then Ref is saying we don't get long spells of heat wave, only a week or two each year, so AC isn't worth it. So you can get like a little mini air conditioning unit that can cool down depending on how good your flat is, as in like if the window seals are good and all of that. You can potentially cool down most of your flat with it, or close the door and just cool down the room that air conditioning is in. But those units are still like at least like what, 200 pounds plus or something. So most of the time people are surviving by opening the windows and hoping that there's a breeze, and then having fans on that the fans are working absolute overtime to like just essentially blow hot air around. And so I think as an American living in the UK, the difference is there's no home air conditioning for pretty much most buildings unless you get a very new renovated building. Or you buy an air conditioning unit, which is like, is it worth it? Because how often are you going to use it? And then of course, the air conditioning unit is going to increase your electricity bill. And then fans can only do so much. A lot of times you can leave your house or flat and go out, and it's almost cooler outside than it is in your flat, because of course your flat and your building and your house or whatever are keeping the heat in, because that's what it's built to do. So then it's like you can leave the place where you live and go outside and just be in the shade, and maybe you'll have a breeze. Or maybe you'll just stay a bit cooler. But yeah, I think that's the difference, is there's no respite. Like, there's no air conditioning. The humidity here isn't as bad as Florida, but it's still pretty bad. But it does feel like there's more often than not a breeze. Today it does not really feel like there's a breeze. It is 91 degrees here, which is very high for the UK. So it's 33 Celsius, 91 Fahrenheit. The humidity is 28%, which where I used to live, It's actually cooler right now where I used to live, I think because it's raining. Oh, and it's also 5 hours in the past. So it will get just a little bit hotter there. What temperature is it here? So it's 33 here, and then there later it's going to be around 34. But the humidity there is around 60%. So it does feel worse. Yeah, I used to live in Florida. And so the bad part of that was, I feel like here when it rains, it at least cools down because the rain is cool. In Florida, when it rains in the summer, most of the time the rain itself is coming out warm. And so the rain just makes it warmer, makes it muggy, makes it more humid, which then makes it feel more hot. So cools down at first, then gets muggy. Yeah. Feels like being pissed on. Yeah, it does pretty much. What I would imagine.